Okay, hey everyone. I'm going to show you how I like to make velvet pumpkins, like this beauty right here. Okay, if you're like me and you're obsessed with pumpkins in fall and you want to learn how to make velvet pumpkins so that you can have all the pumpkins like I did, I saw velvet pumpkins and I had to have them all. I had to have them. So I learned how to make them and now I do. I have them all and it's wonderful. Okay, so what you need is, first of all, you need to get stretch velvet. Stretch velvet is important. I've tried doing this with non-stretch velvet and it was horrible. So the stretch velvet's going to give you the best look. You want to get these great little lobes and you need it to be able to move. And if it's not stretchy, it's just so much harder, believe me. I get my stretch velvet on Etsy by the yard, but if you got a good spot, go there. Okay, so on my website, I offer 6 different sizes. This size I'm going to do is a 9-inch round, and it ends up being about a 4-inch pumpkin. So it'll be about this size. This circle will be this size. Okay, so I'll just show you how I do a small one, and then I'll show you how I do a bigger one too, because there's a couple changes when you do the bigger ones. So you get your stretch velvet, you cut out your circles, use whatever you can. Let's see, I've used cake bases and measured them and then realized, it was a perfect 9-inch. So I use that as a stencil to cut out. There's wood rounds that you could get. And just when you get your yardage, just trace the wood round and then you get your different sizes. So I'll put in the notes what sizes I use and what inches correlate to what. But for this one, we're going to do a 9-inch circle for a 4-inch pumpkin, and this one will be, it's an 18-inch circle for about an 8-inch pumpkin. Okay, so obviously scissors, you need needles. I use the big doll needles. These babies are big. About a 3-incher, and I think this one's a 5-inch one. This one you'll use for the bigger pumpkins, and it makes it so much easier. It really does. I think they come in like a combo pack sometimes. I think this one's a 3-incher, nice and big. Okay, you need one of these or something similar, my little thimble, but it's great because you're going to be wrapping the thread around and pulling really hard, and you need to protect your finger, and you won't feel anything with this thing. I use the Coats in Clark or Coats extra strong upholstery thread. Yeah, there you go. The really strong one, upholstery thread. This stuff is great. I think maybe once it snapped on me. It doesn't come in a ton of colors, but that's okay. You really just need the neutrals, and then I'll use the green and blue. But everything else you can kind of sort of match it to your colors. I think I have 17 different colors in my pumpkins, and I'm able to use these threads for all of them, and it's totally fine. Okay, you obviously need your fiberfill. I just use the basic Mountain Mist Fiberloft polyester fiberfill. You'll need a bunch of this. I get the big 2-pound bag for when I make mine. You end up using a lot more than you think you are. I use dried pinto beans. For the center, I make a little pocket. I'll show you, and then we'll put a little bit of beans in there. It just gives the pumpkin a little bit of weight, so they're not just feather light and then maybe roll away in your display. It really adds to the whole, outcome of the pumpkin. Okay. And most importantly, I think, are the stems. I am very lucky. My mom grows these stems every year for me. She grows a big old pumpkin patch and then she harvests them. And the way she does it, she cuts along the vines so that I get to choose like how long I want the final look to look. She leaves the curlies when she can. It's just, I get a big box of these and they're all dried, ready to go. She even sands them down. I'll talk about that later. And if you're using faux stems, that's fine too. just make sure you got them ready to go. And my glue gun. You'll need your glue gun for that. And if I'm doing white pumpkins, I'll use white beans as the filler, just in case you can kind of see through sometimes. You know, just to make sure you don't see anything. All right, so let's get started on the smaller one. I'm going to move everything out of the way for now. We don't need anything except I'm going to use this thread. This is a champagne color, and I'm going to use, what color is this? I think they're numbered colors. Oh, tapisserie, whatever that is. Okay, so I'm going to use this one because it matches the best. And for the small ones, for any one that we start out with, we're going to start with the smaller 3-inch needle. Okay, so I don't need this, but keep it nearby because whenever you're not using your needle, it's best to just stick it in. It's easy to just keep it in here. I'll show you. So I'm going to take off about 3 to 4 feet twice. This is just the way I do it because I like to have a lot to work with. Sometimes, not sometimes, but if I have enough thread, then I can just keep going all the way to the end of the pumpkin without ever having to switch out needles or change or add thread or anything. Okay. Super easy to thread these ones too. So you're going to thread it, pull it all the way down to the ends are even, right? Okay. This is when you stick it in here to hang on so it's not flying around like I like to let it do. Let me move all these out of the way. Okay, don't think I need scissors right now. Don't need my beans yet. Okay. Now you want to tie a triple knot. Okay. Very important. Not a double knot. It needs to be a triple knot. I can tell you from experience that a double knot will pull through the material. You have to crank down on this pumpkin hard, and you need a triple knot. And I've never had bad luck with a triple knot. That one just missed its knot partners. Okay. Big old knot, right? Okay. Now I'm ready to go. I don't use sewing machines for this at all because this would be really annoying to try to use such thick thread on a sewing machine. Plus, me and sewing machines don't get along. Okay. So I'm going to slip stitch around this whole thing. Slip stitch, just make big stitches all the way around the whole perimeter. And I want to be about 1/4 inch in. So I kind of hold the fabric right here. I hold it up here. Okay, and I kind of line up my needle. See how I'm sliding it along my finger? Okay. In, back and forth. So I'm just kind of like doing a motion like that. I'm going back and forth. Okay, it's going to start looking like that, and it's going to start gathering, and that's what we want. Okay, they don't have to be perfect. Even your circle does not have to be cut out completely perfect. There is no measuring that needs to happen. You're just getting the thread in there about 1/4 inch away from the edge as best you can. I've done this so many times that I can kind of I get in a flow, and you will too. When you load up your needle, all those little gathers, I stop when I'm on the inside because it's easier. Instead of stopping when you're out here, I stop on the inside. See all that? Now we got to pull it down. And if this ever wants to thread, you just pull it back out with your needle and just keep, if it ever wants to knot or tangle, is what I meant to say, you just pull it back out. That'll probably happen, and I'll show you. Okay. So go back to doing your slip stitching. Pull it down. Hopefully it doesn't tangle on itself. Okay, see, we're getting there, almost halfway probably. Remember, it does not need to be perfect. Still no tangling, so that's good. If you were to do stitches that were too wide, you're going to get really fat pleats, you know, like this. And those will be harder to tuck in to the center of your pumpkin. So you want them to be a bit smaller like that, okay? So if you have big fat pleats going on and you don't want to start over, that's fine. Just from now on, make your stitches smaller, closer together. They don't need to be that close together. And then you'll get a smaller gather. Okay, almost there. And try not to poke yourself. Like, definitely do that at this point, and then you get blood on your pumpkin. It's just wonderful. Okay, so I'm gonna go right up to the knot. I'm gonna pop out right like that, right? And now I've gone all the way around. So there's my little pouch. Okay, there is no specific measurement for this. I just need to make, because we're gonna knot it right now, right? I just need to make sure that it will allow me to put the stuffing in without it being too difficult. So I would say this is about a 3-inch opening around there. So I keep it right there. And I'm going to double, well, here, I'm going to knot twice. I'm just going to go through the thread, sorry, through the fabric. Okay. This does not have to look pretty at all because this is not going to be seen. So I've gone through the fabric. I'm going to do a little twist, put the needle through, make my little knot, and it's going to be around the whole edge of the fabric, and it does not matter because you're not going to see it. So, and then I'm going to do it one more time. Go through the fabric. Pull it till you get a little loop. Right. Like that, you know, doesn't have to be perfect. Stick your needle through the loop and do another little tie. Now it should be plenty tight and your little pouch is ready to be filled, okay? Stick the needle in your, what's it called? Pin cushion. Okay, now this is where you get your fiberfill. So you just start filling your little pouch. This thread is strong, so you're not going to break it. You don't need to be super delicate. So I kind of put it in the center and then I push it to the sides like this, like that, right? You just want to get an even amount going. If you're able to still push it to the sides, just keep going. When you start feeling resistance, like, oh, I don't think I can fit any more to the sides, you've got it pretty much as full as you want it to be. You don't want it so tight that you can't add your little lobes later. Like, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So I'm going to just rotating and squishing that. So there. That's what I want it to look like right now. Okay, so now I can see the bottom, right? Put a little bit on the bottom, just straight on the bottom. So now you have like a wall on the inside and you have this little bottom. Now we're gonna take little bits, little balled up bits of the fiberfill, and I always start on one side or the other of the thread that I have going still, because, you know, don't cut anything. So I'm going to start right here next to this thread. I want the thread between the lobes, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to put a little ball like that. See? See how it sticks up? Next to there. And I'm going to do that all the way around at little intervals. I probably end up with about 7, I want to say. So there's 2 little lobes. And we'll adjust as we go too. This is why you don't want it too tight before you do this, too tightly filled, because you need to be adding a little more to the top. And this is why also that you want stretch fabric. Okay. If there's too much, take it out. So I'm making my little lobes. I think I have 5 now. I think I can get 2 more in before I get to where my thread is, because I don't want to go in front of my thread. So right here. Okay. See how I have my little lobes? And then I have my floor. I have a little wall right here. So I've created a little pocket, right? Which is now where I'm going to put a few of the beans. Because right now it's quite light. I like to give it a little weight. If you're going to prop them up or use them in a certain way, they need to have a little bit of weight in your display. There's no specific measurement for this. I just put as much in as I feel. Oh, that feels good. Has a little bit of weight. Okay, push them down in there. Now we add a little top, a little cap. Now we just cover it up. Okay, like that. This is where we start sewing it up. So see how the thread is between the 2 lobes. This is how I start. Get your needle back out of the pin cushion. So I always do opposite each other, opposite of where I'm working. So I'm going to be going across. So I'm going to be going through here and cinching it. And then I'm going to go this way and cinch across this way. I'm going to be doing it, I don't know, just opposite each other. I'll show you. So you want to go through the fabric and under the thread over here. So make sure that you have that your needle's under the thread like that when you go through. Okay. So you're going to do that and you're going to pull hard. And since this is the first one, I go through again. I go under this thread on this side and back under the thread on the other side, and I just do one more little secure loop-de-loop like that, just to help me, because you're going to be holding this real tight for a while now. Okay, I've gone this way. Now I'm going to go this way. So it doesn't matter which side, but I'm going to go, and you go between the lobes. See, we've gone between the lobes, gone between the lobes. I'm going to go through this one over here. I'm under the thread, I'm through the fabric, and I pull. See how it knots up like that sometimes? Just pull it backwards and then do it again. It may come undone as you're doing this, and it's just fine. You just keep pulling and it'll all gather together again. So I'm going opposite this one, right? So now I'm going between these lobes over here, under the thread and through the fabric. And I'm pulling. We're getting there, see? But I have between these lobes to do and between these lobes to do and then this one to do. So I'm doing opposite again. I'm going to do this one and this one. So under the thread, through the fabric, pull tight, go to the opposite side, under this thread, through the fabric, pull tight, spin it around, pull towards you, it helps. And I have this last one to bring in between the 2 lobes. Okay. Pull tight. The whole time you're doing this, you're going to be pulling tight for a while now. Okay, don't let go. If I let go right now, the whole thing would pop open. but you just got to keep your tension going. Okay, so now I have to bring in all the tops of the lobes. I've done between the lobes. Now I have to do on the little tops, all these little gathered areas. So what I do is I go through two or probably three of the little pleats behind the thread. Okay, I'm going through those little pleats just straight through. There's no perfect, you don't need to be perfect with this. It will be totally work out. And then I'm pulling it. Okay. Keep holding the tension. I'm going to go opposite that pleat in the lobe, get the next few like that. Pull it. See how they're getting closer together? Now I'm going to do these ones, and just as long as you're going back and forth, opposite, pulling towards the opposite ends towards each other like this. Right? They're all going to pull in nice and evenly. We're getting closer. You make sure you've done all of them. So there's a few that I haven't done still. So I'm going to go through these little pleats. Pull hard. I'm going to go across to the one over here I haven't done. Pull hard. Let's see, I have one over here to do still. I think this is the last one, and then we have one more thing to check. Okay, so I've pulled all the centers between the lobes together, and then I've pulled all the little lobes together. Okay, so I feel like it looks pretty good. Sometimes I have to go back and like I'll want to bring a little of this up a little higher. So sometimes they're not all evened out. If one of them's down low and kind of hiding, you can go back and just grab a little bit of it and bring it up to meet the rest. Like this one's kind of, see how it's tucked down in there? I might go back and kind of bring that guy back up. Try to work opposite as much as possible though. So that's better. And then this one, I want to even that one out a teeny bit. Make sure you're grabbing a thick amount, fairly thick amount of the fabric, because if you're just grabbing a tiny little bit of the fabric, your thread can pull through and rip the fabric. Okay, so that to me is a really good little pucker going on. Okay, so now I'm going to knot it. You're still holding tension. If I let go, this all pops open. Okay, so I'm going to knot this. I'm going to just pick some nearby fabric, not on the fabric that I'm through right now. Poke through it and do that twisted loop knot. If you know how to hand sew, it's just that. So I've twisted, I'm still holding this tension very tight, and I'm going through the loop and I'm holding everything while I pull down on that knot. And now I can let go because I've knotted it. But I always do at least 2 knots just to make sure. So I'm going to knot it again. Oops, sorry. Do a little twist. Hold it down, kind of like when you need someone to hold a finger to do a bow on a present. Okay. There you go. So that feels good to me. All right. So this is not my finished look. I don't want it to look round like this. I like mine to have the pucker. So we need to do that part next. Otherwise, you could leave it like this and try to do your stem, but the stem will really look like it's just sitting on top. It won't look realistic, and I like them to look realistic as much as possible, and I like them to look more Cinderella-like that billowing out pumpkin. Okay, so you've done a couple knots. And since this is a small pumpkin, we can do the center part with the smaller 3-inch needle. And this is where you need your thimble. This one is perfect. So you're going to push down. You're going to go down through the whole thing from the, we're going to kind of work around this little center. I try to keep it as tight as possible because you want to hide all this with the stem. You don't want to see any of the thread eventually. So try to stay close to the middle. Just go down and try to get it as close to the middle as possible on the underside. That's a little off. Around about there. Okay, there's your needle coming through. Pull it through all the way. On the other side, on the bottom, you're going to go over about a 1/2 inch. If you go too close, say about there, you're going to rip the fabric when you pull. So go about a 1/2 inch. Okay, all the way back, turn it over, and pop out in a different spot next to the center. Let's see. That's the fun part. And then also try not to stab yourself too. Okay, so there I am, right there. Pull it through. Okay, like that. We've come out there. We're going to go down a new spot. I go back and forth twice. So now I'm going to come out next to the bottom down here, and I'm going to go across it. Okay, go across that little guy and then come back up again. Right there. Okay, now we're going to crank down it. Wrap it around that finger and pull while you push hard. Okay, I'm still pulling right now. This looks good. This is how we get that fun look. Okay, now this is a fun part. Keep that tension going. And we take our needle and now we make a knot. Try to keep it as inconspicuous as possible. Grab some of that fabric, right? And we're going to do that twist, loop, knot while holding the tension the whole time. Put the needle through, hold it down, and pull it. And like my knot's way down in there. It helps that this probably doesn't help for this part, but this color hides this thread quite well. Okay, so I'm going to find another one and I'm going to do it again. I like to secure the knot probably 3 times. Do a 3-knot secure. And can't even see that because it's so hidden in there, which is good. Okay. So there's my 3rd knot. Okay, sometimes I will try to tuck the end in, but that's okay. I'm going to cut it now, but I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch. And I immediately tie this into a triple knot again because I can go and start using this on my next pumpkin. And then I don't have to think if I tied a knot or not, it's already tied. So triple knot. There's my triple knot. Okay. But meanwhile, this guy's all done. So I do a final scrunching to bring that back up because we were kind of flattening it down when we were working with it. I push my fingers through the little cracks right here. Kind of accentuate the pumpkin lobes because it gets a little point a little bit. And I like to just push that little point in, make it more rounded. And he's ready for a stem. Okay, let's do the stem. Okay, so when I'm figuring out what stem I want to use, this one obviously is going to be way too big. It just is. It's going to cover up stuff. It's going to, you'll see. Sometimes I just keep finding one where it seems like the little feet on the stem has been made for this pumpkin. You'll find a perfect groove where you're like, oh, wow, that looks like it was actually, it grew that way. So like this matches up really well with all those little pleats and puckers that we made, right? It's like perfect. All right. So the thing with if you're using real pumpkin stems, when these are dry, they are very strong. And you may have dried pumpkin flesh still on the stem, but that needs to come off, and it needs to be as, see how flush that is? It needs to be as flat as possible. If it's got a chunk on there, it's that dried chunk of flesh is just not gonna, it's gonna be very hard to work with, and it's not gonna sit nice and flush on your pumpkin. So I actually, through trial and error, I use a bench grinder to do this now. Wear some eye protection and gloves because you don't want to grind your fingers off. And a lot of dust goes flying. But I actually, and this thing can handle it, it's so strong. Turn on your bench grinder and you just hold the bottom to the bench grinder until it sands off all that dried pumpkin flesh, and all you have is a stem. And what's cool is all that friction and heat makes it smell like cooking pumpkin, which smells really good. So make sure this is nice and smooth. Make sure it's intact. You have all the feet. If you have a broken off stem, it's not going to look good. So get your stem. And what I do is I line it up a few times and I say, okay, this is going to line up with this. Just try to memorize exactly how you want it to go on the pumpkin a few times, because you don't want to put it on in the wrong way. And then you kind of messed it up. Okay. So then you get your glue, and you're only going to put glue in the center, and you're going to leave like an edge around the stem that does not have glue on it, because whenever you push it down, that glue is going to spread, and you don't want it to spread out onto the fabric and then have all these glue dots all around, which can happen. So you don't need a huge amount of glue, just a nice coin size in the center. And if you wanted to, stop pushing on the glue and kind of spread your little glue to the little feet. You can do that too. So I'm going to do a little, wait, let me double check how I want to do it. Oh, see, good thing. So I'm going to do it like that. Okay. Put some hot glue. Try not to get it too bright. Hot glue in the middle. I'm going to go up the little feet a teeny bit, but I'm not putting more glue on. Okay, and then you have to be quick because it dries quick. And flatten out the pumpkin while you push down, and then you squeeze the pumpkin around the bottom of the stem. So I'm pushing really hard down on the stem. It won't break. It's so gnarly. And I'm pushing the pumpkin up around the stem because I want all those little feet to attach with the glue. And you hold it for about a minute. Okay. And if a little bit of glue pops out, don't worry, just keep holding it down. Get your stem attached, and then I can show you how to try to fix a couple of those little guys if it pushes out. The glue is very strong. I've had to, on old pumpkins, take off the stems sometimes if for some reason and to take it off, it is really hard to get these guys off once you've glued them on. They're quite stable. All right, I feel like that's pretty good. Let's see how it turned out. Okay, looks good. Take away the little glue strings. I don't see any little globs of glue. Now it kind of looks like the pumpkin grew that way, even though it's velvet. If you did get a little glob of glue, wait till it's dry, till it's, you know, solid color and more dry. And I use these tweezer things, and I just very gently just pluck off the little glue bead that'll be there, and then usually that takes care of it. Okay, this one is done. How cute is that? There's your little pucker. Okay, I'll show you the slight differences when you do the large pumpkin. Yeah, to sew it up. You know, this time I think I'm going to use dark thread, so maybe you can show you the contrast a little bit. So never would I usually make these with dark thread, but it might be easier to see. Okay. So don't forget to make your triple knot. You've done 3 to 4 feet times 2 because you're, you know, even folding that in half, basically, the thread. I have my nice big 18-inch diameter circle for my nice big 8-inch pumpkin. My biggest size is about 11 inches, and I use a 22-inch circle for those. And yeah, those beauties are big. So let's do this so you can see the thread better. This is going to take a minute to slip stitch this whole thing, but see how like I didn't cut it perfectly. There's a little, it doesn't matter. It's fine. You're not going to see it. So this is where we start slip stitching. And I'll show you the first thing just as a review since I have the darker thread now. Okay, so I'm going to slide it down. And this is what it's looking like, right? Okay, do that all the way around. Okay. I'm at the end. I've met up with the knot. So I'm going to come right out on the inside next to that little knot. I don't know if it really matters if it's inside or outside, but that's just the way I do it. Okay. So now that they're next to each other, right? I'm going to judge my opening about, let's see, for the bigger ones, I do a little more than 3 inches. Probably like that, probably 3.5, 4 inches. Okay. Put the needle down under the thread through the fabric like that, and you're tying a knot around the fabric and everything because it does not matter. You're not gonna see it. Okay, make that little loop. Stick the needle through the loop. Pull. And if the ends get stuck in there, it does not matter. There's the ugly little knot that no one will see. Now, do it one more time. I have my loop, twist it. Twist through and pull. Okay, I've done 2 knots around the fabric and the thread, and now I'm ready to stuff. So remember what to do with your needle. Stick it back into the pincushion to hold on to it for you. Now we get all of the fiberfill. You're going to use a lot for this one. So this one I just start pushing it into the inside. That's too big. I put it all around the edge on the bigger ones. And then I go back and do that little method we did with the little ones. So I'll show you. Put some big clumps around the sides. Okay, so now I have some all around, and now what happened now? Now do that little technique where I put some in the bottom and then push it to the sides like that, right? Because I want it to be nice and filled out, and that means on the bottom too. It's still pretty flat, see? So keep pushing the fiberfill in and squishing it to the sides until it feels pretty tight and like there's nowhere else for it to go. The sides feels a little low to me, so I'm gonna put a little more. You're gonna add those little lobes later too, but you still want a nice height, base height first. All right, that should be pretty good. I feel like it really popped up a little more. So there should still be some extra fabric, right? A little bit, because you need to work with that. So let's put our little bottom on for below the beans. One other way that you can do the small ones, this one and these little 3-inchers that I do, I used to fill these 3-inchers with dry rice only. No stuffing, just filled it with rice. And it definitely gives it a fun, like it really feels like a pumpkin. I don't do that anymore because I ship them and it's just too heavy. So I only use the beans and the stuffing now. And they're still really cute. But you can also do it that way with the dried rice. Okay. I have the floor. I have the base sides going on. Now we do the lobes. So this time you're going to grab bigger chunks to do bigger lobes, right? Kind of like a fist size. And we're going to start on one side of the thread because we want to have a lobe here and a lobe here, and we're going to start pulling between the lobes, remember? So stick that in there. This is too small. I'll do a little bit more. Okay, and then on the other side of the thread. It doesn't really matter what order you go in, but I tend to go clockwise, like in order from one side to the round to the next. So there's another lobe. You kind of make your shape like this, and then you kind of make a little mold for it when you do that with your hand, right? Like that. Right? So cool. This is all stuff I didn't realize I was doing until I just tried to show you guys how to do it. Okay, so yeah, I'm making a little mold. So I have 4, and I think I can do at least 3 more. Try to make them as even as possible. So if one looks a little small, this one seems a little small, just add a little more. You know, and no two pumpkin is alike, right? So each one of these velvet pumpkins is going to be unique. They don't have to be exactly the same. That's what I love about pumpkins. They're all so different. I just love pumpkins. Okay. You know, I think pumpkins seriously are my spirit vegetable. Yep. They just make me so happy. Year round. Year round I have some sort of pumpkin on display. Okay. That looks pretty good. Look how fat that got with the lobes and stuff. You have a nice deep pocket, right? There should be a wall of the stuffing, and if there isn't, if you need to add a little bit to make a wall, do that. So now I'm going to add the beans. Again, just go by feel. There's no special way to do this. I've used, that feels about right. A little bit of weight. I can't make these too heavy or it'll be hard to ship them, right? Okay. Put your little top on. There we go. What's great about the beans is when you're passing the needle through, they just kind of move out of the way, right? You're not going to spear a bean. And then, you know, have it cause problems. Okay, we're ready to start sewing it up. This is where we use lots of tension and we go opposite, we sew opposite sides together. Okay, so grab your needle back. I'm already in between the lobes over here. Pick one of these to go between. So there's 7 lobes, it's not going to be even. It's fine as long as it's across. So I'm going to go through this one. See the thread? I'm going to go under the thread through the fabric and pull. I kind of help it together too. I squeeze it. And then I'm going to hold it while I go do that again. I'm going to go under the thread on both sides and pull that together again. Like that. It's a little easier to hold now. Okay, now pick the opposite side, one of these. Or actually over here, you see this? There's 1, 2, 3, use the middle one over here. I'm going under, you can't see the thread, but I'm under the thread over here. Okay. Pull hard. Pick one of these guys to pull toward it. I'm gonna pick this side under the thread. Don't poke yourself. Pull. Oh, what did I do? Oh, see, this is what I did. This is a good learning right here. So right here, I went through just the thread and not the fabric. So I'm pulling on just the thread right now, and that's just not going to work. So go back through. However I went through it, I see. I'm going to go undo this while still holding tension, which is always fun. Okay, I let go of that one. Pull it back tight. Try that again. You don't want to go through just the thread because then the fabric doesn't come to you. I know now that I have the thread and the fabric. And now I'm going to pull. Okay. Nice and tight. Go through this side. And if you want to not have that happen again, you can kind of look between them, but I'm good. Nope, there's a knot. Pull backwards. Here it goes. Pull. Let's see, the only other one I need to do is right here, right? We have both thread and fabric. Pull. Okay, I have all of the spaces between the lobes pulled. Now we go back to pulling the little gathers at the bottom of the little lumps we made. We were pulling the gathers together. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab like 3 of the gathers straight across behind the thread. Pull, and then back and forth. Grab like 3 of those. Make sure you're grabbing a big enough chunk that you're not going to pull your thread through the fabric. If that happens, it should be fine. You just need to do it go back and grab it in a way that you can hide that little tiny rip in the fabric. Got a little knot going. There we go. Sometimes what I do, I realized, is this thread starts getting twisted up because I'm constantly moving the pumpkin in a circle as I work. So what I'll do is I'll drop the needle and I'll slide my fingers down the thread and straighten out the twists. Okay. Keep grabbing opposite lobe gathers. It's my new technical term. Until you feel like, till you know you've gotten all of the lobes, and then also until you feel like it looks even and symmetrical in the center. And you're putting tension on the whole time. So, I mean, it takes some arm strength for sure. Hand strength. Especially the bigger ones. Okay. I've gotten all the lobes technically. I also like on these bigger ones to look and make sure there's no big openings. Sometimes I'll have missed too much of the fabric and I'll see like a little like way into the pumpkin, and then I'll go and fix that. But that looks good. So what's happening right now is these center ones are just too high. So I want to bring these little side ones up a little bit just to make it even so that it'll be easier to put the stem on and it'll look a little more uniform. So I'm going to grab this one, bring it up, holding tension. And then now this one looks a little low, bring this one up a little bit. Okay, that to me looks pretty even. See how there's no more ridge really? It's all pretty much even. Okay, so I'm still holding tension, by the way. Otherwise, remember, the whole thing will spring open. Okay, now we pick across wherever you just went through last, go across from that, and this is where we're going to do our little knot loop. Okay, so I'm through. Now I twist that loop, holding tension. Once you get this first one done, it's much easier. Pull the needle through. Sometimes I have to squeeze it together so it doesn't pop open. Okay. Close enough. Yep, there we go. All right. Now I can let go, but I want to do one more, maybe actually two more. When you're doing the big pumpkins and you're at this point, you're going to do a triple knot because we are going to switch out needles, right? So there's my triple knot. And normally if this was the right color thread, you wouldn't see that. But sometimes I'll even kind of tuck this under. Like I'm going to go through the fabric underneath before I cut it and just kind of pull it and then pull that end under. Now I'm going to cut it, and it kind of hides that little tail. Stick your needle into the pin cushion. You're going to cut. We're cutting right now because we're switching needles. Remember, before we do the puckering in the middle. So remember to leave about a ½ inch. Immediately triple knot this so you can use it for another pumpkin. This color, what do I usually use this color on my rust colored pumpkins. And then whatever else seems to match it. See how this one matches pretty good. That's the one that I used for that. Okay, put that to the side. Now you need your big fat long needle. Okay, so this is where the 5-inch needle comes in, and it makes puckering this pumpkin so much easier. I did not use these for a few years, and I was so happy when I finally realized that. Okay, so for this one, since I don't want to be able to see the dark thread on the bottom, I'm going to switch back to this thread that will match. And I'm going to do a big piece again as if I'm starting a new pumpkin, just because I like having my needles loaded and ready to go. And I like having more to work with. Sometimes if you try to use, when in doubt, if you think your thread's going to be too short for this, just don't even bother. Just cut it off, get a new piece. Because believe me, I've been at the end of a pumpkin and barely been able to tie a knot because I didn't use enough thread, and it's so annoying. Okay. Tie your triple knot. Okay, and we're going to start from the top of the pumpkin and go down first. This is where you get your little thimble too that will save your life. Okay. Put it, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to pick a spot. I kind of do it in a square, right? So that I pull the center down as even as possible. So it's a flat spot to put the stem and not, all on one side and it's lopsided or whatever. So I'm going to go down here, probably up here, down here, and up here, and then pull it, okay? So try to be, I go between the little folds, and we're going to go down first and pop out as close to the middle as possible. Nope, that's not the middle. That's close enough. There we go. See what having a nice long needle does? I was doing that with 3-inch needles and it was horrible. Okay. That's pretty good. All right, now I'm going to go, what? Remember, like a 1/2 inch away, because we don't want it to be if it's too close, it'll pull through the fabric. So here's where I went down. It's not all the way flush. I'm going 1/2 inch away, and I'm going to go back up sort of across, not across, but to my next corner. This is all a guessing game, and you just got to be careful not to stab yourself. So now I'm going to go up right there. I went down right here, and I'm coming up right here. Now I'm going to go down over here and up over here. Pull. Make sure it's flush in the back. So see how the bottom is going this way? When I go back out, I'm going to do my next one across it. Okay. So now I'm doing this. I'm going across here and down. Pop out. Down here. No, that's way too far away. Sometimes you have to reposition a few times, or you're just gonna squeeze until you get it in the right spot. No, it's too far over. There, I think that's close enough. So I'm right there, right? And then I'm going to go across when I go back up. So make sure after you pull it down that it's all the way down. It's all the way down. Now I'm going across. This one's probably farther apart. It's probably like a good inch, which is fine. So I went here, here, back. You can't even see it. Oh yeah, but back down here, and now I'm coming up here in a square, right? In order around the edges. That's too far over. I'm trying to come out right here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now I'm coming out. And I've done that little crisscross on the bottom. Now put your big 5-inch needle in the pincushion. Wind the thread a couple times around your thimble, and you may, as you pull, you'll probably need to wind it more. And just remember to push down while you pull up on the thread. Okay? See? Right now it looks kind of flat. We're going to do final plumping later. Okay, so this part's a little fun because now you're still holding tension, right? You're holding the thread. You're not letting anything move back the way it was. So grab your big needle. This is where you have to do a knot with a big 5-inch needle, and that's just the way it is. Okay, I'm going to poke it through. One thing I do is I kind of run it along my finger and let it bend, and there we go. Holding tension the entire time. Don't let anything move. You're making your loop, twist loop, pulling down the knot. Okay, now you can let go. Okay, but big pumpkins especially, I would make at least 3. For sure 3. 3 little knots. Never had a pumpkin burst open or fail or whatever you want to call it. I have made so many of these guys. Okay. That's my 3rd little twist loop knot. See how much better it is using thread that matches? Okay, so I'm going to go through the fabric just to hide the tail. And sometimes it kind of pulls the knot with it, and then the knot just goes whoop under the fabric, and then you can't even see it. Stick the pick in the pin cushion, cut about, leave like at least a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. Immediately put your triple knot in. It's done, but look, it's flat. So we need to, which is good if when you're gonna put the stem on, you kind of want it flat because then you want to scrunch the pumpkin around this bottom of the stem. But let's give it its shape. Remember to see the little corners. This is where you push in, right? Up the pumpkin cracks. Push in. You can keep messing with this as much as you want to get it to look just like you want. Much plumper. Look at how cute it is. So cute. Okay, it's ready for a stem. Okay. I haven't decided between these two. They're both nice and flush. Thanks to my mama. Prepped all these for me. And I'm going to see which one I like better. So let me see how the feet, these little, call them feet, on the stem match up with my gathers. And also, like, see, this one actually isn't going to work because, I mean, if I trim this off, it'll work. But it's hitting the pumpkin and it's making it kind of weird. So I could use that if I trimmed it off, but I think I want to try this one. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Oh yeah, it looks like it was made for it. Look at that. Look how they all line up, so cute. Right? Okay, so I'm gonna get set on where I want it to be exactly. That looks perfect. Looks like it was born that way. And I'm going to memorize what goes where. This one's going to go here. This one's going to go here. Just however you can memorize it. Only put glue around the center. Leave an edge. Stop pushing on the glue. Like, stop releasing the glue. And just what you have there, you can go up these little feet a little bit. But do it quickly because it will start to dry quickly. And then you won't get as good of as a stick. It won't adhere as well. All right, here we go. And then when we do that, I'll just pretend I've already done it. Put it on, push down hard, and squish the pumpkin around the stem. Okay? And with these ones, I actually hold it against my chest and I bear hug it with the big ones. Because you want everything to glue on. Okay. Here we go. Bear hug, push down, hold it for about a minute. And after all this, if you've decided that making velvet pumpkins is not for you, just head over to my Etsy and I will make them for you. Takes a lot of practice, but it's pretty stinking fun. All right, that's been about a minute. I always think I'm done and then I say, nah, a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. She's so cute. I don't see any globs either. Take away the little glue trails, threads, whatever you call them. And then I do a final plumping because I was just squishing the crap out of this thing. Final plumpage. And oh my, look how cute that is. Yep. So this is my second to biggest size. This is my second to smallest size. And then I have 2 sizes in the middle. Yeah, super fun. Hope that was helpful. Give me some feedbacks. Let me know what parts were confusing or if you want some clarification. And I will try to answer any questions you have, okay? Thanks for watching.